What if a simple tube of glass could unsettle a throne? What if looking into the night sky forced the most influential men on earth to ask who speaks for the heavens? I am Arthur. And today we step into the rooms where Galileo looked, wrote, and argued, and into the halls where his vision frightened the guardians of order. Galileo did not set out to provoke a crisis. He wanted to see. With a crafted instrument aimed at the stars, he found a sky that refused to obey the old rules. The moon was not a flawless pearl. Jupiter carried tiny points of light that circled it, proving that not everything turned around Earth. Venus showed a changing face. Dark stains crossed the sun and drifted. The cosmos moved in ways the old books had not explained. What made these findings dangerous was not only what he saw, but how the news spread. Word moved through universities, courts, and pulpits. Curious nobles lined up to peer through the lens. Students copied sketches and carried them to distant cities. The more eyes looked, the more old confidence began to shake. If the moon had mountains, if a planet held moons of its own, if the sun showed changing marks, then trusted maps of meaning needed revision. Here is why that prospect terrified powerful authorities. Their standing depended on harmony between learning, scripture, and tradition. For generations, teachers had said the cosmos was ordered around Earth. They called it natural and moral. The sky, they said, confirmed it. The highest realm was perfect and unchanging, a mirror of divine rule. The ground beneath our feet was the stage where sacred history unfolded. Galileo's sketches did not attack faith. They attacked certainty, and certainty held the structure together. From the moment his work began to circulate, two paths opened. One path said, test, measure, and interpret again, for truth does not fear a closer look. The other path said, do not disturb what safeguards order. If people begin to doubt the model taught in sermons and schools, what else will they doubt tomorrow? In the tense air between those paths, every new observation felt like a spark near dry straw, bright enough to set nerves smoldering. You might think the dispute was only about the stars. It was also about who defines reality. For a long time, learned commentaries held the final word. Now a craftsman scholar was saying, come and see, let shadows and light speak. That call thrilled some and alarmed others. If observation could revise the sky, might it later revise the calendar? Could it change how courts weighed testimony? If the heavens could change, maybe authority must change as well. Galileo understood the power of clear speech. He wrote in vivid language that pulled readers into his study. He framed conversations between imagined voices that defended rival views. His style persuaded people who would never finish a dense lecture. That reach magnified the alarm. It is one thing for scholars to argue behind walls. It is another for sailors and merchants to repeat the arguments in the marketplace. Yet the reality was more complex than a simple clash. Not every churchman rejected his conclusions, and not every philosopher embraced them. Many thoughtful figures tried to guide a careful middle course. They asked for more data and a gentler tone so that study and reverence could walk together. Still, momentum kept building. Each clear night delivered fresh evidence. Each drawing raised another question. Each letter carried the fire to another town. Why did the meetings grow so tense? Because the stage changed. The question was no longer whether a new model was interesting. The question became who had the right to publish and teach it. When printing spread his words beyond friendly rooms, authority felt cornered. Leaders feared that public debate would turn sacred teaching into spectacle. They urged him to present bold claims as possibilities, not verdicts. He felt the sky had already spoken, and that honesty required plain speech. In a moment, we will enter a room where those convictions finally collided, and where one sentence, spoken under pressure, would echo across the centuries. The room was quiet when he was asked to speak. He explained what his instrument revealed and how each steady night confirmed that the old design no longer matched the sky. He described small lights that circled Jupiter, the changing face of Venus, mountains on the moon, and stains on the sun. He said that truth is not threatened by a lens. What threatens truth is fear of looking, and fear grows when influence is at risk. The judges listened. Some admired his craft, yet worried about the storm his words had stirred. Others asked him to present his ideas as clever calculation rather than a portrait of reality. They did not only hear an astronomer, they heard a challenge to customs that protected unity, law, and trust. If the center could move in the heavens, might the center move on earth? If the sky allowed change, what else might demand revision? Galileo tried to hold inquiry and reverence together. He argued that nature can teach about its maker, and that sacred writings guide the heart, while the world explains motion and light. He believed the two voices could harmonize if each kept to its proper field. That belief shaped the tone of his letters and the patience he urged on readers. He did not ask people to abandon tradition. He asked them to look closely and report what they saw. But the wind kept rising. Pamphlets simplified his careful arguments and turned them into slogans. Supporters mocked critics, enemies mocked him. Courtiers watched which way the breeze might blow and added their whispers. The debate shifted from how do we know to who gets to say we know. When roles harden, bridges crack, and even measured claims feel like rebellion. In that climate, each new sketch traveled like a spark in dry grass. What followed is remembered for one scene. Galileo was ordered to state his view in words his judges approved. He complied with pain in his voice. He agreed to present the new model as a convenient device for calculation rather than the design of the world. He did not renounce his eyes. He accepted a boundary to keep the peace. Then life narrowed. He left public rooms for quieter walls and watched the weather of ideas from a window. In seclusion, he returned to first loves. He studied falling bodies and the swing of a lamp. He measured time with his pulse and distance with string. He wrote with calm clarity about speed, resistance, and the grammar of mathematics. The man who had scanned the sky found fresh wonder in rolling balls across a board. The same method served him in the small and the vast. Ask a clear question. Test it. Let the answer stand even when it unsettles comfort. Why did fear linger after the sentence? Because the choice was never only about where planets travel. It was about how a culture faces uncertainty. If honest observation can revise inherited maps, stewards of order feel exposed. Yet the search for order did not end the search for wonder. The desire to protect meaning did not erase the desire to learn. Those pressures met and produced new forms. In the years that followed, readers copied his lines by hand and learned to build better lenses. Sailors used improved charts. Doctors and engineers sharpened their attention to evidence. What began as a dispute over the path of worlds rippled into daily life. Clocks grew more precise. Bridges grew stronger. Music found fresh ways to describe motion and harmony. A method for asking hard questions became a craft for making reliable tools, and that craft trained future generations to improve them. There is one more reason the story endures. Galileo showed how courage can look patient. He did not hide his wit, and he did not salt his wounds with bitterness. He wrote with respect even when he was frustrated. He returned to first principles when doors closed. In that steady posture, many found a model for their own struggles, whether in laboratories, libraries, workshops, or courts. He made a path that others could follow without shouting. So why did his discoveries terrify the guardians of the age? They forced a choice between authority that never bends and truth that never sleeps. The first asks for silence. The second asks for attention. Moons circling a distant planet opened a new road for the mind, one that welcomed clarity and welcomed mystery. It invited citizens to weigh claims with evidence rather than rank, and to lift their eyes with courage. That is why the lens became a symbol of a free mind, and why the night sky still invites brave questions.